Considering home security? Consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. The yard sign isn't just a sign, it's a line in the sand. It's no wonder 5 times more people choose ADT to protect their homes. Visit ADT.com to learn more. For license information and terms and conditions, visit ADT.com.
Joining us here, he is the coach of the hottest team in the National Football League, and one of the really pleasant surprises, maybe not just that they're winning, but the way they're winning.
Yes.
Sean Payton, the head coach of the Saints, is back with us on Mike and Mike. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Doing well.
We're doing great. Thank you for taking a few minutes here. And let's dive right into this thing here. Your team started 0-2, and since then you've run off 7 consecutive wins. If you had to pinpoint the one thing that turned this around, the one single thing that changed that was most significant for your team beginning after that second game, what would it be?
I think that third game, that road win at Carolina versus, a real good football team. We went on a stretch after the 2 losses where we played at Carolina and then flew right from Charlotte to London. And we thought that those 2 weeks were going to define our season. It was the first game we really took the ball away defensively and did a number of things well. We've got a lot of young guys in this draft class playing, and I think, we got a little confidence going in week 3, and then we carried it over to London and won there, and then pretty soon these weeks start running together. But I would definitely point to that road Carolina game.
300 pass attempts this year, 276 rushing attempts. Be honest, how difficult is it for you to call a running play? You're just not that used to it, are you?
We called 23 in a row the other day.
Wow.
I think, look, there's a balance that allows us a little bit more control, and it can vary by game, but we've got 2 good young backs. So, Ingram's still young. He came in 2011, and this Alvin Kamara's played awfully well. So, and I think our offensive line, when you look at the experience and also the additions of Ryan Ramczyk, Larry Warford at right guard, Max has been a staple for us at center. We knew to help play better defense, part of this was necessary as well, and more of a complementary game. But, I don't think you go into Buffalo ever and say we're going to run for 300 yards.
Listen, I'm with you. Getting Armstead back on the left side. Pete can finally have a home at a guard spot. I completely agree about Unger being the staple in there. You got to give a lot of credit to those guys up front, but a couple of really good backs as well. But I'm also, Coach, as you know, the defense hasn't ranked or played very well over the years, and this year they are playing well. Dennis Allen running that defense as a coordinator. What's going on that side of the ball that has been different over the last few years?
Well, I think the first thing this offseason, when you look at the influx of players that are getting to help us right now, Lattimore in the first round, he's starting. All right, Ramczyk in the first round, he's starting. Our second-round pick, Marcus Williams, is starting at free safety. Anzalone was a third. Now, he was put on IR, but he was starting at linebacker. The other third, Kamara, is playing. Then another high pick in Trey Hendrickson. He's playing in a rotation. So I would start with the influx of some young players that have adapted very quickly, and then some selected free agent signings. I mean, we go out and we know A.J. Klein from our division. We're able to sign him in the offseason. Alex Okafor is another player that we knew, and Manti Te'o. There's just been a good fit of some veteran guys that have come in, and then some younger players that have that football makeup. Because generally, when you draft someone, you don't know the transition time, and this class has been one I think we'll look back on and say these guys were all, had good football makeup.
And then there's the other side of it, a guy that's a little bit older than those you just mentioned. We're talking to Sean Payton, head coach of the Saints. That would be one Drew Brees. We've heard a lot about Tom Brady being 40 and the TB12 and the avocado and all the things that he's trying to play till 45 and all that different stuff. But Drew is 38, completing over 71% of his passes, 13 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. This guy looks like he's not aging either. So talk about him from that standpoint of been with you a lot of years and just at 38 years old, where he is.
Well, he's probably got a lot of quirky things, or we would think of as quirky, but certainly routine. But look, these guys today, relative to, it wasn't long ago where Len Dawson was smoking a cigarette at halftime in the locker room. Mm-hmm. And so these guys are well rested. They're very, very detailed in their preparation. They'll have someone working with their body or their throwing motion in the off season. They'll be looking closely at everything they eat. They're getting to sleep 8.5, 9 hours. And then the amount of time they spend during the day if you watched them or you had a camera follow them for one 24-hour period, I think it would be amazing, the attention to detail that goes into playing that position and the pressure that goes into playing that position. So they're taking care of their bodies better, and he's been magnificent that way. And you don't see age when you're with each other. You guys probably the same way, but then when I see Drew's children or when he sees mine, it's like, wow, we've been together a long time.
Well, that's another similarity there, really. You got Brady and Belichick together all those years, so comfortable together, knows the system so well. You and Drew together all these years, so comfortable together. So he obviously knows the system so well. And actually, if you look at the numbers, I don't even know if you probably do know this, but your offense is actually averaging more points per drive during these last 7 weeks than you did the year you won the Super Bowl. You know what a championship caliber team looks like, Sean. Do you think you have one?
Well, I think we're building one, and, we've got 7 weeks left, but I think the formula to win is certainly playing a complementary game defensively and offensively. And I feel like we can go into a game with a little bit more versatility to attack, and we're not in these shootouts, or we're not just going into games where it's 48-41. At some point, you want to be able to control a game, slow it down, speed it up, and it's nice to have that versatility, and each week it gets tested. I'm sure this week against Washington, it'll be tested again.
Yeah, it's one of the better games on the schedule this weekend. Hey, Sean, as you probably are aware, we're wrapping up our show tomorrow after all of these years, and you've been a constant with us, a regular guest. You've shared a lot of insight and a lot of analysis and all sorts of fun. So we just want to say thank you very much and continued success. Good luck.
Well, listen, thank you guys, and the time you've been on, you've meant so much to so many of us sports fans, and longer than Brady and longer than Breeze. Let's just say that.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it very much.
The difference
Sean.
is they still look great, and look
do.
at us. We're a mess. Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean. We'll see you.
All right.
Sean Payton, been great, obviously, coming on the show. Also, I got to see him out on more of a professional level. My son Mike had a couple of short stints with the Saints, so got to see him down there with Sean as well. And Sean's always been really great to us and the show.
And look, what people sometimes forget about him, because he's got Breeze and they run this high-powered, this flinging around the yard offense, is that he is a Parcells disciple.
Yes, he is.
At his core, I think he wants to run the ball. But when you've got Drew Brees and you're playing in a dome, you go with your strength.
And by the way, the last time they had this kind of split, correct me if I'm wrong, Hembo, was when they won the Super Bowl. So, I mean, this is a great formula to have. And you have a guy in Drew Brees who just continues to get the job done. And, we don't talk about him as much as we do Brady, because Brady hit that, magic 4-0 number. Drew's not far behind, and Drew looks like he could keep going for a while as well. So, again, another quarterback that really is going to do most of his damage from the pocket and not take a lot of chances outside of it or downfield.
And, if there's one thing that I find myself thinking more and more lately, and you may wind up having been right up. I'll come on with you and Trey at some point here, like 2 years down the road, and we'll see if you were right, and I'll acknowledge it if you were. If Tom Brady is still playing at that high of a level, and with Breeze doing the same thing, maybe what we have to do is start reassessing what we envision as an old player, particularly at that position.
And we'll see if we have room on the show for you.
John, book me. You know what? I'll say that I'm coming on, then I won't answer the phone. All right, Mike and Mike were presented by Progressive Insurance. I mentioned huge guest this morning, and it doesn't get better or bigger than this. Joining us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, the head coach of the number one ranked team in America in college football, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Here's Nick Saban back with us on Mike and Mike. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, guys. How are you today?
Doing well, Coach. And I got to start off by saying I sat there and listened to you talk about the genes, and I can't tell you how much I agree with you. I see it from my own wife and daughter when they walk around with jeans that are worn out or have holes in them and knowing what they spent for them and thinking, my God, I could rip a pair of jeans and sell them and try and make some money as well. Blows my mind, though. So I was right with you on that one.
Yeah, well, it just reminds me when I was a kid and we didn't have, really great clothes all the time to wear. And you kind of embarrassed sometimes when you went to school and you had jeans that had a hole in them or the leg was split or, they were a little worn out. And now people spend great big money to have it that way. Kind of interesting how we got there, I guess.
I'm with you. The
world has changed in a lot of ways, but the one thing that never seems to change is that your team is ranked up there at the top. And Mike and I have both been fascinated all through your tenure there, but certainly this year with a lot of the ways that you have handled the expectations and the way people talk about your program and the term rat poison, which now everyone is using for everything. Can you kind of explain that a little bit more in depth? The ways in which you are concerned that all of the praise and all of the expectations can negatively impact young players and their ability to work and do the job they need to do?
I think one of the things that we constantly try to do with our players is get them to stay focused internally on the things they need to do to play well. And I think that's more and more difficult, not in a bad way. They get a lot of positive self-gratification from, internet, media, Facebook, all kind of social media kind of outlets, the media itself, and that's a good thing. But it also can be a tremendous distraction for them in terms of how they get affected by external factors. It can cause complacency when people talk about them in a positive way, and it can create frustration if people talk about them in a negative way. So we're really trying to get them to just to stay focused on the things that they need to do to accomplish the goals that they have, and every one of them want to play well, so that's really what we're trying to do. And I think the whole idea of the poison is it does sort of poison your mind a little bit if you don't think the right way in terms of what you have to do to stay focused on the things you need to be working on to actually improve your performance.
And the one thing you can't keep 18 to 22-year-olds off of is social media. We've had Coach K on the show, and I know a friend of yours in Tom Izzo on the show talking about how he deals with this generation of players that loves to be on social media. How do you deal with your players? Do you talk to them about it or have rules about it, or how do you go about it? Because you know they're going to be on it.
Well, we know they're going to be on it. What we try to do is counsel them, direct them, monitor them to some degree to hope that they don't do anything on social media that will affect their brand in a negative way. I think when you put things out there that are not, truly your character, your integrity, what kind of person that you are, trying to maybe gain attention from something that you say or do, may not be a positive thing for you, the team you represent. So that's the kind of guidelines that we try to use. We don't feel like restricting them in some way is going to be the answer to what seems to be a part of their culture.
Mike, Nick Saban, head coach of Alabama. And I'll tell you what, I watched your game last week, which was a sensational game at Mississippi State, and there were multiple times in that fourth quarter, I will admit it, I said out loud, Alabama is in trouble. And your team found a way to win on the road in a very tough place against a good opponent. What did you learn about your team, your quarterback, and his performance? Ridley was unbelievable. What did you learn about your team in the second half of that fourth quarter on the road this weekend?
Well, we knew it was going to be hard. We knew it was going to be a hard game. We've had hard games at Mississippi State many years since we've been here. Almost every time we go over there, it's a hard game. And they've got a good team this year on both sides of the ball. So we knew it was going to be difficult, and it was going to be interesting to see how the team responded to the difficulty and the competition and the circumstances they were playing in. And the thing that I learned is in the fourth quarter, we didn't have control of the game in the first three quarters of the game. They sort of controlled the tempo of the game, the momentum of the game. But in the fourth quarter, when we needed to do it, we got the stops on defense we needed. We made the drives on offense that we needed to make. And we actually came up empty when we missed a field goal. So I was really pleased with the way the players responded from a competitive standpoint in an adverse circumstance and sort of embraced the difficulty of the circumstances and overcame it.
You know, we see the X's and O's on the field and at the quarterback position, and Jalen Hurts now in his next year starting, but obviously still a young player. So not from an X's and O's standpoint, but from an intangible, what has he picked up the most? Where has he improved the most in the intangible part of the quarterback position?
I think what Jalen has done is he's become a little more confident and a little bit more instinctive as a decision maker in the passing game. I think when you're an athletic guy, he always had the ability to throw the ball, but you sort of have a built-in sense of I can take off running anytime I need to get out of trouble. So that's always sort of your escape mechanism rather than seeing the play through, reading the play through, hitting the open guy. And I think he's gotten a little better at being a pocket passer, having a better pocket presence, making better decisions, and we made more plays throwing the ball down the field because of that, and I think that's important, especially with the kind of skill guys that we got that we need to have, make plays for us.
Nick Saban joining us here, head coach at Alabama. You play Mercer this week and then the big game with Auburn. And listen, everybody outside of the Alabama program is going to look ahead to the Auburn game. You obviously are not going to. So from the player's standpoint, do they just understand when they come to Alabama and your culture and the Alabama culture that you don't overlook anything, not even the game this week that many other people will be overlooking? Or is it something you and the coaching staff have to impress upon them?
Well, I think you have to impress upon them that it's really important that they focus on the technical things they need to do to improve as players, individually, collectively, as units, however you want to talk about it. I used to cringe at Ohio State when Woody Hayes would say, if we're good enough to beat Michigan, we'll be good enough to win this game. And I was always one of those guys that, play them one game at a time, focus on one game at a time. But in a way, I understand what he's talking about. If your players will play to a standard, and the standard is going to help them in this game and in future games, because they're developing the right competitive habits they need to play at a high level and a high standard all the time. And the team you're playing really shouldn't determine that one way or the other. So we're working hard to try to get our players to do that. They seem to be responding fairly well, but you never know until you get to the game on Saturday.
And last one for me, listen, injuries are never an excuse, and I know you would never use an excuse, and nor should it ever be used as an excuse. That being said, is this even more than you've seen in a while, especially from one position, your linebacker position? Even for you, is it like, while it's not an excuse, wow, we're losing a lot of players?
Well, we go through different sort of issues and problems with every team. Sometimes you have a really good team, you have a really young quarterback. Another time you have a really good offense, not so good on defense. Sometimes you have a pretty good team and you sort of get snake bit at one position. And I think when that position is linebacker, which is the signal callers on defense, the guys that set the front, probably can make more plays because of their instinctive abilities, and it does have some impact and effect. But I also think it creates opportunities for other players and a challenge as a coach to, get there and coach your tail off to try to get those guys better so that they can play winning football for you. And in the end, I think that's a benefit to your team. So that's what we're trying to do here, and I think it's going to be important if we're able to finish that we can get that done with our players, as coaches, and that's what we're looking forward to. And it's a challenge, but it's exciting to be able to do it.
Well, Nick, listen, we want to thank you for taking the time to do this today, and thank you for all the time that you've given us over all the many years. That you're probably aware that Mike and I are wrapping up our show tomorrow, and you've been a constant with us here with a lot of fun and the good times and the very few bad ones. So we very much appreciate it and continued success, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again down the road.
Well, I appreciate it, guys, and I'd like to say that I'd like to thank you guys for, I think, having a show that a lot of people have a tremendous amount of respect for. The two of you are very informative, but your chemistry together has been something that I think a lot of people really appreciate, acknowledge, and certainly will miss. So, I hope everything goes well for both of you, and you all have a great day. All right.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Nick.
Appreciate it very much.
That's Nick Saban, head coach of Alabama. They're 10-0 for the 10th time in the last 11 years, by the way.
I firmly think if he stayed on the phone another 10 seconds, he'd have broken down.
He seemed very. Listen, that's just how he is. He is one of the most interesting people in sports.
Hey, you know what? He is. And one of those things, I'd have my kids playing for him any day of the week. What can you not love about? I know people say it could be this ornery guy. So what? You know what? I mean, if he teaches your son to be a better football player and hopefully a better man out of the whole thing as well, then so be it. And along the way, get a little hardware. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all.
I think that you could make an argument, and in fact, I think I would, that he is the greatest college football coach of all time. In large part because of the way the game has changed from what it was when people like Bear Bryant and others were coaching. I think he is the greatest college football coach of all time. And so from the greatest of all time to Stugotz, which has got to be the greatest jump off a cliff that has ever been done in broadcasting history.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
I got caught with a mint in. I had a mint in, and I couldn't decide. I couldn't get rid of it.
Did it sneak up on you that we were back at this particular time for the last 18 years?
You ever have this happen to you? You forget you have a mint in? So like when I started talking, I realized, oh, no, I have a mint in, and the camera never went off of me to give me the opportunity to spit it out, which I thought would be unseemly on television. So I tried to crunch it up and swallow it, and the whole thing just went badly.
We're one day away from ending the show,
Let's move on.
That's where we went.
Okay. Well, listen, I mean, anything is better than this. Stugotz joins us live now from the Dan Le Batard Show. But, Stu, I got one song for you.
Yeah.
All right. How great was that?
It was amazing. Listen, I heard a lot of massage talk headed into the game from Mr. Golic and you, Mike Greenberg, and I haven't heard any talk since the Canes beat up on Notre Dame on Saturday night. Where are we with this bet? What is going on here?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. This was a bet that was made during the Mike and Mike show. The Mike and Mike show ends tomorrow. So if this bet is to be paid off, I guess you have to be up here tomorrow to get this massage. If not, then I guess it's over.
All right, listen, this is a bet that was made between Dan Le Batard, Mike Golic, and Mike Greenberg. I had nothing to do with it. I had nothing to do with this. I was just put into the bet against my will. But by the way, I'm happy about it. I mean, I got a spa day, and I got those big hands of Mike Golic going to be on my Mike, your hand has been in the dirt, but I promise you it's never been in this kind of dirt. So I don't know. I don't know where we are with this, but this is a bet that you guys made with Le Batard, so only Le Batard can let you out of the bet. I'm not going to speak on his behalf. Dan wants this thing done, and he wants it done soon.
I guess I would say that to Dan in the technicality of it was made during the Mike and Mike era, which ends tomorrow. I mean, after that, I mean, are we in limbo? Is it floating? You know I pay off on my bet, so
we will figure out a way to make it all work to everyone's satisfaction.
Somehow, some way, you're going to get massaged, okay?
All right, great.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mike. Yes.
In the meantime, let's talk about the team, and let's talk about the U, and let's talk about it being back, and that spectacle The game day stuff in Coral Gables was unbelievable, and then all the way through the game itself, and Herbie was talking about it, and he was doing the game that really felt like the team fed off the crowd and fed off the energy. It just became a runaway train and could not stop. Do you see them stubbing their toe? They've got Virginia and Pittsburgh before they get Clemson for the ACC title. What is your expectation right now about Miami's chances of running the table?
My expectations are, I know they've been up and down this year, and they played down in games that they're supposed to blow out, and they've blown teams out that they weren't supposed to blow out, like Notre Dame and Virginia Tech. So I know the Canes have been up and down, but guys, after the last 2 weeks, I do expect the Miami Hurricanes to run through the regular season here and then go into that ACC championship game undefeated and play Clemson, and we'll see what happens there. It's really interesting. This Canes team has been they've injected a lot of life into the South Florida community here. Everyone's excited about it. They've been waiting for it for a long time. And speaking of that Saturday, it's the highest-rated college game day of the year. I think it was the highest-rated game of the year for college football, and that speaks to how badly college football needs the University of Miami to be relevant, but not just Miami, Notre Dame as well, both those teams. College football is a better place when both of those teams are relevant teams, and certainly they are right now.
I agree with that, and then when they play each other in such a meaningful game, it would have been nice if the game was better. But I agree with you from the college game day experience. It was fantastic, and certainly for the U. And all kidding aside, we have different schools that grab to different things for motivation, and some it seems kind of goofy, and some it doesn't think it works, and other times. But this turnover chain, I think, in all honesty, it's a pretty cool thing. I mean, the players love it. They all get, even though it's an individual award, they all kind of, as a team, rally around the guy who wins it. He gets a special moment to stand up, usually on the bench there. It seems to have really worked for him, and at this point, now, if Miami's relevant for the next 5 years and they keep doing it, people will find a way to hate it. But right now, I think a lot of people really dig it.
They absolutely dig it. I mean, it's as much the talk of the town as the actual team is, to be honest with you. So it's really, listen, it was a smart idea, but Mike, you were right. It is something that South Florida loves now, and they will always love. But in terms of the rest of the country loves it because this Canes team is on the way back up, and they're kind of a lovable underdog right now. But if the Canes go on a Canes-type run here and they win 3 or 4 national championships over the next 7 or 8 years, something like that, fans nationally will start to hate that thing like poison. So it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. Mike, I don't know. How does that work? Because I've been giving them credit. Like, just the fact that you have a turnover chain. They've had 4 turnovers in each of the last 4 games, 4 per game, which is absolutely incredible. I've been telling Dan that I think it, motivates the players to go after the ball more, to go after strips more, to try to get fumbles more. I don't know. How does that? And Dan is absolutely laughing at me, saying, no, they get this done with or without the chain. How does that work? Because I think it's such a good idea and it's such a cool thing, and the kids want to wear that thing so badly that they're going for turnovers in a way they wouldn't if that chain did not exist.
I would lean toward Dan in this and say the age of football now has you going for turnovers all the time. This is one of those years where they're getting a lot of turnovers. Next year, they may not get as many. We see that in the NFL. Right. One year, all of a sudden, this team, they're just getting turnovers and they're scoring with turnovers, and it's kind of out of the norm. So, and I think that's where you are this year with Miami. I don't, next year, I don't know if you'll see as many turnovers, but they'll still have the turnover chain. So I agree with Dan on that one. I don't think it's the motivation to try and get a turnover, but I do think it's nice that players know there is a reward at the end of that turnover rainbow.
Gotz, I got a couple of quickies for you, Kirk, to run out of time. We had the story earlier this morning about how Derek Jeter says he hasn't talked to Giancarlo Stanton. That seems to have raised a few eyebrows. What is the sense there about Stanton getting traded, about the way Jeter is handling it?
People are upset with Derek Jeter this early, and Derek Jeter's never dealt with any of this, right? He's been beloved his entire career. People have said yes to him and beloved him his entire career, but people are upset with Derek Jeter. You would think the first thing you would do as the new owner of the Marlins, as the guy who is running the Miami Marlins on a day-to-day basis, the first thing you would do is reach out to your best player. And the fact that Derek Jeter stood up there yesterday and said he has not said a single word to Giancarlo Stanton, has not reached out to him. I mean, guys, all indications are that Giancarlo Stanton's going to get traded. And I think what makes Miami Marlin fans even more upset about this is now there's a report out where Derek Jeter is talking to the Yankees about trading Giancarlo Stanton to the New York Yankees, and it feels like maybe he's helping his whole team, his old team out. So it's weird. You thought it would be, a day of celebration. It would be a time of celebration because Marlin fans dislike Jeffrey Loria so much, the old Marlins owner so much, that you figured it would be a celebration. But right now it's just not, because all indications are that Jeter's going to trade Stanton, and they're not going to spend a lot of money. And that's the same old down here for Marlin fans.
I was just going to say it'd be the same story, but with just a more high-profile owner. So we'll see where that goes. We got one beef stew for you, Stu, and that would be you have more beef with the Bills benching Tyrod Taylor or with them benching him for a rookie?
I don't care who they bench him for. Well, I don't care who they bench him for because a backup's a backup. I mean, this team is 5-4 and 5-2 a couple of weeks ago when I heard a lot of people saying they were a playoff team and singing the praises of Tyrod Taylor. It's just a strange one. It surprised us. I think it stunned everyone where you have in a weak AFC, guys, you have a team sitting at 5-4 and Tyrod Taylor, I think, gives you the best chance of making it to the playoffs. But the Bills are clearly telling you they're not re-signing him next year. They've never been a fan, and they're clearly telling you this is it for Tyrod Taylor. Dan made a great point yesterday where you wish they would have figured this out 2 weeks ago and they could have traded him. There are a lot of teams that would have taken Tyrod Taylor and given you something for him a couple of weeks ago, but now that time has passed.
All right, listen, Stugotz, we have to run here. Late in the tenure of this show, you have become a very fun and valued friend to us both and have been very welcome here for all of this time. So I know that it will continue in new iterations for both of us in separate ways. But thank you for bringing a whole bunch of fun to the show for the last year or so.
All right, guys, I don't know much about anything, but I do know radio. I know how hard this is to do, and you guys haven't done it at a good level for 19 years. You've done it at the absolute highest level for 19 years. So I am proud of both of you. Congratulations, an amazing run, and thank you for allowing me into your Mike and Mike family. You didn't let me all the way in. You kept me at arm's length, which, to be honest, is a very smart strategy by you guys, but I do appreciate having the opportunities to co-host with both of you and to do a weekly segment. Been a dream come true for me. So congratulations, guys.
Thanks,
Stu. Yeah.
Best of luck with everything. We'll talk to you again soon.
Talk to you in a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and there's something to keep someone at arm's length or too close. So we kept them at arm's length.
Yeah. I mean, at closest.
You didn't want them to be that close.
No. It was more like 10-foot pole. It was pretty much the relationship. But you know what? It worked.
For 18 years, I've listened to Mike and Mike, watched them on ESPN2, been a participant on their show on numerous occasions. Always had some great questions, and I hoped I produced some decent answers. They'll be missed as a team, but I know they're both going to continue to grow. Both of you have been fantastic as a team, and I wish you both the best of luck. You two, the best show that I've ever watched and listened to on radio and television.
Wow, that's Jack. It almost seems like at this point they should call the whole thing off and not break us up. I mean, if Jack's saying that.
Jack Nicholas.
How about that?
Send me that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
The greatest golfer that ever lived. And a tough judge, right? He's not one I think who's going to throw that stuff around.
No.
I mean, I don't know if he really thinks we're the greatest of all time, but he obviously likes us enough to take his time.
All I know is of all the thank yous we got, 2 of them add up to 32 majors.
Him and
Gary?
and Tiger.
And Tiger.
Oh, and Tiger. And
Tiger.
Throwing Gary Player, too.
Gary, that's exactly right.
We got Gary Player.
Gary guy. I'm talking 18 and 14 as far as majors. Sorry, Gary.
Player, I believe, has 9. Player have 9 majors, I think.
So we're looking at 41. 41 majors.
I love that.
Wow.
Who else did you say in my ear? Oh, and Booger, who has no majors.
Seriously, you're going to ruin that by putting Booger
He threw Booger into the conversation. Yes, all 3 of those guys, in any condition, would have destroyed, would still destroy
That's
Booger.
Exactly right.
In golf. Okay, very important message.
Got a happy birthday out there to Greeny Golic now, the former Jenny Facillo. Jenny married my son Jake July 15th at Notre Dame. It was a wonderful, wonderful ceremony there at Notre Dame, married in the Basilica, and had the reception right there on campus. It was a fantastic wedding. So that was basically 4 months ago. And I'm happy to report that the marriage is still going strong 4 months later. And, I don't get emotional a lot on the show, but I do have to say, without question, that Jenny is by far my favorite daughter-in-law of all time.
Well done.
Yeah.
It's obviously, for those wondering, he only has one daughter-in-law.
People didn't have to know that.
Well, I mean,
why
Mikey
couldn't you just let it go?
Because otherwise, people may. I mean, most people generally know your other son.
Okay, I was trying to pull something off there.
Okay, well, it's well done.
Well, no, it's not now. You just gave it away.
Well, she, too, is my favorite of your daughters-in-law.
Okay.
I actually had a little bit of confusion because I follow her on Twitter, and she changed her name to Jenny Golic after she got married.
Because there's Jenny Golic, and then there's my brother Bob's daughter, Jenna, my niece, Jenna Golic. It's exactly right, who's right there in all the tweets as well. Jenny, just kidding, love you. Happy birthday.
She makes a delightful $20 contribution to our DraftKings every single week.
Oh, smack talk on DraftKings.
I don't get involved in a lot of the trash talking.
Yeah.
We have a text group chat for our DraftKings group, and there are 11 of us who play every week, and it's basically every member of your family.
Yep.
It's me, and it's Darius, and it's Trey, and Cousin Ed, who's also a member of your
there
family.
as well.
And the trash talk, I just sit back and watch it. I'm just amused by it. But the trash talk that goes on, particularly amongst the Golics, is hilarious to behold.
Pretty good, yeah.
But Jenny, she is a delight.
26, happy birthday.
Are
we at an age 26? You say your age, right? I mean,
it's not up to me.
Listen, well, she's 26, so whether she wanted me to say that or not.
Yeah.
But again, I tried to pull it off as you're my favorite daughter. I was trying to have everybody in the country think, oh, my gosh, how sweet is that?
Not sweet.
You blew it.
No, because if you had other daughters-in-law, it would not be sweet. You would be then picking a favorite, which would then be creating all kinds of family discord. I pick a favorite
kid every day. Every day,
which is your favorite kid? I mean, I don't.
Well, I haven't decided. It's just 9:00 Eastern.
So
time
if it's
today.
Thursday, you're saying you'll have a different favorite today,
without question.
And it's based upon what? What generally determines which
how the day goes. We all
kid?
Chat a lot. How the day goes. You know how much money Sydney spends of mine. You know, and other things that are involved. So by the end of the day, I usually text to all of them who won the day. You know, type of a deal, and then we average it out over the year.
I think that's healthy for them psychologically.
I
really
think so
do.
as well. None of them will need therapy, right?
I think to spend the entire day waiting and wondering if they've pleased their father.
There you go.
And whether you will bestow upon them the title of favorite child. And I can see where that's.
And
healthy.
it all comes down to the fact of when am I worth more to them dead than alive? That's when I start sleeping with one eye open. When Sydney starts walking around with a pillow in her hand. Lay down, Dad. Lay down.
That's well said. All right, Mike and Mike, we have a minute here for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. And I'm going to use that just to read one tweet. And as I've mentioned many times, there isn't any conceivable chance that we're going to be able to respond to everyone who has reached out to us. And I hope that everyone understands how much we appreciate it. But this one just kind of stuck out for me. And it is from @Commander Butch.
Okay.
And he writes to us, guys, for 15 years of my 24-year naval career, I began my day with you. My thousands of sailors, thank you for putting me in a good mood. Fair winds, guys. And those are ones that we will take with us.
Never more humbling than hearing someone in our military services say that to us when we can't thank you all enough for what you have done for us.
Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks, Trey Wingo, Shefty, and more. Still to come. Stay there, Mike and Mike.